Hey everybody, welcome on our channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto becomes the Storm Shadow and joined the Overwatch, Part 1. Huge shout out to AlbionSkunk for this story. If you are new on the channel, don't forget to subscribe our channel and like the video too. So without wasting any more time, let's start the story. It has been so long since I have ventured into these hidden lands. I was young when I have journeyed here at the behest of my father. I sought to perfect the shinobi ways and bring honor to the Shimada clan, my family. The land was tranquil, there were forests as far as the eye could see, rivers endlessly flowing, and the energy of life flowed freely. But even here the hearts of man remained. With the power of chakra, the shinobi villages of this land fought one another over many things. It was here that I had discovered what it means to be a shinobi, a warrior of the shadows. But it was here that I had discovered a beautiful and rare flower. A shinobi with a bow. A beautiful redhead looked at the man incredulously. What kind of shinobi are you, Tebane? Hanzo, scion of the Shimada clan of Hanamura, Japan, smiled at the woman. My clan is also an expert in kenjutsu, Uzumaki-sama. Oh please. Kushina laughed. My father is Uzumaki-sama, just Kushina is fine. Very well, Kushina-san. Anyways. Kushina placed her hand on her hips and grinned. Thanks for the help, Hanzo-kun. I would have been toast if it weren't for you. Hanzo bowed to the woman. I only aided you because I thought it was right. There was no other woman like her. I had never seen a heart so pure, yet she was strong and independent. Each time I gazed upon her visage, my heart soared, like a bird flying through the clouds. I had met her friend Minato, a man my age and someone who is in line to become the chief of their village. He was an honorable man, and someone who is like a father to 3 of his students. But I could see it in his eyes, he too desired the red flower that is Kushina Uzumaki. But we dared not quarrel, for it would mean dividing her heart into 2. Konohagakure no Sato, this was their village. It was a village like no other as it resembled more of a small city. But its inhabitants were kind and welcoming. Though there were some who were paranoid due to the war, I made sure that I would not offend them. Their current village chief, Sarutobi Hiruzen, was an old friend of my father, and welcomed me to the village with open arm. It was through him that I learned many ways to harness my spiritual power of the dragon of the south winds. In time my younger brother Genji will soon journey here as well as tradition demands. The time I had spent here is something that I will both cherish and grieve. For when the time came for me to speak to Kushina of how I felt. I'm sorry, Hanzo-kun. Kushina bowed as she and the Shimada scion stood beneath a tree. I'm flattered that you think of me like that, but, my heart belongs to Minato, it always has. Hanzo closed his eyes and turned away, opening them to the beautiful sunset. Tonight is my last night here in this village. By first light tomorrow, I will return to Hanamura. But know this, Kushina Uzumaki, the time I have spent with you. I will cherish it for the rest of my days, for there is no other flower like you. Facing her once more, he bowed. I thank you. Kushina tried reaching out for him but he was already gone. She never saw him again. I never dared love any other woman. They were not her, and they never will be. Though my father understood, the clan council did not and have tried many times to match me with a woman of their choosing. Years had passed and news of Minato and Kushina's death had reached the Shimada castle. Minato had slain a demon, but it was not enough for either of them to survive. Without even saying a word I had journeyed back to Konoha, only to see her lifeless body. No. Hanzo wept as he ran his hand over her beautiful face. She was still warm to the touch. Oh my beautiful red flower, why must the gods decided to take your life? You have done nothing to anger them. The day I returned home to Hanamura, I had built a shrine on mountain overlooking a valley, a shrine dedicated to Kushina. Her death had torn my heart open. Every year I would burn incense for her, praying that her soul found peace in the afterlife. But as for Minato, my heart raged that he could not protect her. It is the duty of a husband to protect his family, and he had failed to do so. His carelessness had brought death to the woman I loved. Though I may have never earned her love, my heart will always be hers. So without any of them noticing, I have taken her sword and placed it on the shrine. She will be remembered, even if the village of Konoha does not. Years passed and I was once again wrought with grief. I was forced to kill my own brother Genji as my duty demands it. Guilt had took hold of my entire being, and with it I had left the clan, roaming the world, perfecting my skills as a warrior and putting my ghosts of the past to rest. I traveled far and had been through many battles, both against worthy opponents and myself. The deaths of both the woman I love and my younger brother haunted me. And once again I have brought back to this hidden land. But I was not brought to the village, but a valley that was once a place where two great warriors had clashed. I was brought to a dying child who had lost everything. Hanzo gazed at the dying child, a child of gold hair, blue eyes, and whisker marks on each cheek. The gods must have such a cruel sense of humor that he was brought to this child. He looked at him and saw the gaping hole on his chest, a hole that narrowly missed his heart. But Hanzo's thoughts immediately left the Shimada's mind when he heard his broken words. "Kill me," the child whispered. "Please, kill me, Tadabeo." Hanzo's eyes widened when he heard the child's verbal tick. There was no doubt about it, this boy was their son. How could he have not known about this? Could the village have been keeping him a secret? "Tell me, child." Hanzo knelt down beside the boy. "What is your name?" "You." The blonde coughed as he held his wounded chest. "Uzumaki. And Naruto." The Shimada shinobi sighed and looked on in sadness. This boy had her face, he can see it, but it also bore his likeness. It cannot be helped. Picking the child up, they disappeared into the shadows. When a silver-haired shinobi arrived, all that was left on the water were two headbands, one slashed in the middle, and one without. The silver-haired shinobi widened his uncovered eye as a tear went down. He held the headband and clutched it tightly as he knelt down by the pool of blood. "Sensei, forgive me. I will now allow Kushina's son to die a meaningless death, so I tended to his wounds. Because he lost so much blood I willingly gave him some of own, causing an entity inside him to fuse it with his own. Once he was strong enough to speak properly, he gave me his story, and with some persuasion he told me everything." "Why? How could you do this to your own son, Minato? Why would you curse his fate and allow him to live a life of loneliness? Were you that naive into thinking that the village would know any better? You sealed a demon into your own child, the very demon that had ravaged your village, and you expected that village to view him as a hero? You are a fool. And because of your foolishness he never grew up to have a family. You have done this to yourself, Minato. I curse your soul into the abyss. You dare call yourself an honorable man and yet you do not value your family. You do not deserve Kushina, nor do you deserve your son. He's..." Naruto silently cried. Why would my own father? Because he is a fool. Hanzo declared as he nursed the boy back to full strength in a small house high up in the mountains of Japan. He placed his family second, and because of that you were the one who had to suffer for his sins. The blonde closed his eyes and allowed the tears to roll down his whiskered cheeks. "And my mom?" The Shimada scion reached into a pocket and produced a picture of a young woman with long red hair. She was the most beautiful and rarest flower in all the world. Naruto shakily took the picture and smiled. "She's beautiful. I wish I could have met her, Tadabeo." Hanzo nodded in agreement. "She would have been an amazing mother to you. Keep it, Naruto. You deserve that much." "What happens to me now, Hanzo-san?" The archer stood up and offered the boy his hand. "Come. I wish to show you something." Naruto was kneeling in front of a shrine dedicated to his mother. Sitting on it was her sword, a katana with its tsuba in the shape of a lotus flower. With his hands clasped, he closed his eyes and bowed his head. "Kachin, if you're looking down right now, I want to tell you that I'm doing alright. I wish I could have met you. I promise you. I won't become like him. I won't become like someone who put his family second. I will take up the way of the sword and carve out my own path in life. I will make you proud. She already is. Hanzo said as he placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. I know she already is. You are her son, just you are my son now. The blonde turned his head and gazed at Hanzo with wide eyes. You. Come, my son. The archer held out his hand and smiled. We shall begin your training as a true shinobi. I will teach you the ways of the Shimada. Naruto is so much like her. His fiery personality made me smile. He was a quicker learner, and with his shadow clones he was able to learn the techniques in half the time. A shinobi will use every tool available to them, and this is no different. Just like his mother, he was a natural with the sword. It came naturally to him, like water flowing in a river. Everything I taught him, he absorbed it like a sponge, and it only made him hungry for more. Just as I taught him how to wield a blade, so did I teach him how to craft and wield a bow in the Kyudo art. 7 more years had passed and Naruto was now 19 years old. These past years, journeying the world with him and learning many martial arts together, they were the best years I could have ever had. Today we have returned to Hanamura where we will be paying our respects to my younger brother Genji once more. Today marks the 10th anniversary of his death. Had things been different, Kushina and I could have had Naruto. But this is enough. He is my son now, and because of him, my heart is beginning to heal. But at least I had done something right for her and cared for her only child. So today is the 10th anniversary of Genji Ojaizen's death. Hanzo nodded as they walked into the Shimada castle, leaving the incapacitated guards they had easily defeated. Today we once again pay our respects to him. Naruto, now a young man wearing a black leathery hooded outfit, looked up and saw the painting of the dragons of the south and north winds. What do those dragons mean, Otusan? Hanzo smiled as he gazed up at the painting. I suppose it is time to tell you of the legend of the dragons of the north and south wind. And though Kushina is gone from this world, her legacy lives on in her son. I fell in love with the rarest flower in all the world. Though I did not win her heart, she had won mine. I lost her and my brother, but gained a son in return. My son, your story may not have such a happy beginning, but that does not make you who you are. It is the rest of your story, who you choose to be. But know this, Naruto, to me you are my pride and joy. My son, my only son. You are Shimada Uzumaki Naruto. By my blood flowing through your veins, you are the scion of 2 great shinobi clans. Hanamura, Japan. Shimada Castle. The hidden lands, only a few know of its existence. The Shimada clan were one of those few as it was technically their ancestral home. Another that knows of it was a disbanded organization known only as Overwatch. They had kept watch on any possibly activity coming from there, even witnessing the Third Shinobi War that had occurred almost 2 decades ago. It was clear that these people, although less sophisticated in terms of technology, are very formidable with their abilities. Another thing that they were aware of was the bridge to another world that the hidden lands were connected to. A gateway to a world called Remnant. It was a world filled with humans and those with animal traits called faunus. But nothing is easy for the faunus kind as, like the omics, suffer from discrimination from the humans of Remnant. Both worlds have been made aware of each other, and many faunus have fled to Earth in search of better life where they are widely welcomed by the Asian communities due to the anime culture there. It is from there that the faunus and the omnics have formed friendships due to having gone through similar hardships. Had Overwatch still been around, they would have no doubt aided Remnant in their problems with an extremist faunus organization called the White Fang. Either way, humanity has come a long way. Things are far from perfect, and it is far from peaceful. But, there is always hope for a better future. Naruto dropped into a defensive stance and deflected 3 shurikens with his tanto from an attacker clad in white with green eyes. His father then knocked and twisted the bowstring and loosed it, causing the arrow to curve and strike its target at a steep angle. But the assassin was quick and dodged the arrow with ease. To think that Shimada Hanzo has a son. The assassin taunted while drawing his tanto, prompting Naruto to go into an offensive stance, wielding his blade in a reverse grip. Is this your way of honoring someone you murdered? You know nothing of what happened. The scion of the Uzumaki clan roared as he charged forward and clashed with the assassin. Their arms were a blur as sparks from their respective blades soared into the air. Using the training he had gotten from his father, he matched the attacker's moves with the Shimada Taijutsu, but it was strange, the assassin was using it as well. Hanzo saw this and knocked another arrow and loosed it. The projectile flew straight and true as Naruto jumped out of the way. The assassin attempted to deflect it, but the force was too strong for him to simply block it. He was thrown back down into an area beneath a bridge. The entire main hall of the Shimada castle was both a council chamber and an indoor garden with a wooden moat. Hanzo drew a scatter arrow and fired it. The assassin saw this and raised his tanto, deflecting all the arrows that were about to strike him while running back up towards the stairway to the terrace. Using his speed, he disappeared into a green blur and hid within the shadows. Both father and son pursued the attacker, but the moment they entered the balcony, the assassin was no longer in sight. Hanzo knocked another arrow as he heard the assassin's voice. I know you tell yourself that your brother disobeyed the clan. The archer fired an arrow, but instead of hitting his intended target, it struck a wall. And that you have to kill him to maintain order. It was my duty. Hanzo confirmed as his son fired an arrow from his own bow, but the assassin easily deflected it with the arrow embedding itself onto the floor. The older man then drew his bow and aimed it at the assassin. And my burden. That does not mean I do not honor him. The arrow loosed and the assassin dropped into a stance. He swung his arm forward with the edge of his blade making contact with the arrow. The moment they struck, the arrow was split into two, and the halved pieces then struck the wall behind him. With no time to draw his blade, Naruto growled and rushed forward. Using his bow like a club, he skillfully swung it, leaping into the air, flipping around while attacking and defending himself from the assassin's skillful strikes. Whoever he was, he knew how to counter the Shimada style of martial arts. The Uzumaki slid on his knees and dodged the assailant's strikes before flipping into the air and firing a few more arrows. Seeing this, he formed a few hand seals and pressed 2 fingers right below his mouth. Katan, Gakakya no Jutsu. Fire breathed out of his mouth and struck the floor below. But unbeknownst to him, the assassin had already seen this. His eyes darted to his right and saw the assassin right beside him, kicking him hard at his side and sending him crashing on the wall before crashing down onto the floor below, knocking him out. Naruto! Hanzo screamed and growled as he moved in to protect his son. Just as his son did, he used his bow as a club and swung it at the assassin, hoping to get him away from the incapacitated Uzumaki scion. You will not lay a single hair on my son. The assassin swung his blade, clashing it with Hanzo's bow. The latter made a strike, but the assassin dodged before countering with his own attack. Both weapons grinded against each other before the assassin got the upper hand and kicked the Shimada scion, sending him towards the railing. Hanzo gritted his teeth as he blocked the assassin's blade with his bow, preventing it from striking his throat. You think you honor your brother Genji with incense offerings? The assassin taunted as he tried to press his blade further down but was not able to. Honor resides in one's actions. Hanzo was now livid but saw his son's arrow still on the floor. You dare lecture me about honor? You are not worthy to say his name. He kicked the assassin away and threw him away, grabbing him by the neck with his bow before throwing him across from where he was. Going for his son's arrow, he pulled it and aimed at the assailant. At this, the blue dragoon tattoo on his left arm glowed brightly with a mist. Ryuji Waga Teki wa Kurao. 2 dragon spirits emerged and roared, flying straight towards the assassin. This was the secret art of the Shimada clan, the art of summoning the dragon spirits that has served the Shimada clan faithfully for generations. Ryujin no Ken Wakuri. The assassin drew his katana and summoned a green dragon spirit, shocking the Shimada scion. At this he used the green dragon spirit to control the blue ones, sending it around and back towards the archer. As the force of the blue dragon struck Hanzo, he fell on his knees and dropped his bow. He could not believe what had just happened. How could this vagabond possibly know the Shimada arts? It was clear as day, he knew how to counter Naruto's kenjutsu and taijutsu with ease, but most of all, only a Shimada can control the dragons. Who are you? Sheathing his katana, the assassin drew his tanto once more. In the blink of an eye, he rushed forward and pressed the blade up against Hanzo's throat. Father. As Naruto stirred, he tried getting up, but the blow he received was harder than he had imagined. His vision was blurry, but even he could see that the assassin now had his father beaten. Seeing this, he looked at his son before resigning to his fate. Go ahead, kill me. But you will not lay a finger on my son, my sins are my own. The assassin turned his head and looked at the archer before pulling away and sheathing his blade. No. You still have a purpose in this life, brother. Naruto's eyes widened, and so did Hanzo's. No. The archer stood up and picked up his bow. How? My brother is dead. The assassin pressed something at the back of his helmet, releasing the lock on his mask. Removing it, he revealed his face, though covered by the shadows, Hanzo could still see it. Genji. Hanzo took a step back, his entire being racked with disbelief. His brother is alive, and now a cyborg. What have you become? I have accepted what I am, and I have forgiven you. Genji replied as he put his mask back on. Patting his older brother's shoulder, he walked past him and made his way towards the railing. Now you must forgive yourself. The world is changing once again, Hanzo, and it is time to pick a side. Watching his brother leap onto a roof across from where they are, he was about to grab an arrow struck when he remembered that his son was still on the floor. Son. I'm all right. The young shinobi grunted as he gazed at his uncle. I am glad to know that there is hope for you, brother. Genji said as he looked on with a smile beneath his mask. And I am glad to know that you have trained my nephew well. We will meet again. And with that, Genji disappeared in a plume of smoke, leaving an eagle's feather behind. With his father helping him up, Naruto snickered, finally understanding the legend of the Dragon Brothers. I still have much to learn before I can reach Uncle's level. Hanzo chuckled as he guided his son back down the stairs into the main hall. That you do, my son. That you do. For the first time in many moons, Hanzo finally felt at peace. The ghosts of his past were finally laid to rest. By some stroke of luck, Overwatch agents have been recalled by one scientist named Winston. By some reason they had been recognized as an international organization once more. But during the early days of the recall, some of them had gone into some unfortunate events as an Omnic figurehead for equality of both humanity and Omnics had been killed by an assassin sent by Talon. Tikartha Mondada was loved by many, his beliefs that humans and machines are one within the iris laid dead in front of thousands of his supporters in the Meridian Hotel. In honor of him becoming a martyr, a statue of him was erected on King's Row, England, and a picture of him was placed on the stairs in front of the very hotel where he gave his final speech. But after that, Overwatch had come back strong and had since then foiled many plans by the Talons. And now, they had offered their help in aiding security for Remnant's upcoming Vital Festival, a festival of peace, where cultures from all over Remnant and Earth will gather. Famous figures like the Omnic monk Tikartha Zenyatta, the late Mondada's brother, will be there to spread his beliefs in behalf of his brother. Zenyatta has had many pupils, but none brighter than the cyborg ninja Genji. The shinobi's last mission was ironically tasked to dismantle his clan's criminal empire. But as time passed, Genji felt increasingly at war with himself. He was repulsed by the mechanical parts of his body and could not come to grips with what he had become. When his mission was complete, he abandoned Overwatch and wandered the world in search of meaning. He drifted for many years before crossing paths with the Omnic monk Zenyatta. Though Genji initially rejected Zenyatta's wisdom, the benevolent Omnic would not be deterred. In time, Zenyatta became his mentor, and under the monk's tutelage, Genji reconciled his dual existence as both man and machine. He learned to accept that although he had a cyborg body, his human soul was intact, and he came to see his new form as a gift and a unique strength. And now, the Omnic monk has gained himself a new student. Honored one. Naruto bowed down to the monk with great respect. It is a great honor to meet you. Though Zenyatta had no mouth, one could tell that he was smiling at the young man. Please child, there is no need for such formalities. You are among equals here. We are all one with the iris. Naruto nodded and sat down with the monk. I can see that though there is peace in you, there is also conflict. You deny the blood that flows within you. That blood, Naruto muttered, has only brought me pain and suffering. Nothing good comes from this blood. Only the blood of my mother and my true father has made it tolerable. The man that has sired me. I will never forgive him for what he has done to me. But as long as you are in conflict with yourself, Zenyatta continued, you will never find peace. The blood that flows through your veins will always be a part of you. Come, I will show you what it means to be at peace with yourself. Naruto nodded and gave the monk a wushu salute, bowing to him as a student addressing a teacher. This one is willing to learn, Sifu. And so it went on. Though Naruto still felt anger and bitterness towards those who had wronged him, he was finally at peace with himself and completely accepted what and who he is. He could feel a massive weight lift off of his heart. He felt light as a feather. He was no monster that the village of Konoha made him out to be. He is a shinobi, and a master swordsman. He is Uzumaki Naruto, son of Shimada Hanzo and Uzumaki Kushina, scion of two great shinobi clans. With the QB sealed inside him, the blood of Shimada Hanzo, whom donated blood to him, is now completely fused into him as if it was a part of him. It turned him into a full-blooded Shimada clansman. He was now related to his adoptive father by blood. Just as much as he enjoyed taking lessons from Zenyatta, he enjoyed learning from his uncle Genji. Under Genji's tutelage, he had learned more of the Shimada style of Kenjutsu, combining it with the Uzumaki style to create a deadly new form. But Naruto knew that should Konoha discover his whereabouts, he would be declared a missing nin and/or hunted by them so that he could be retrieved. He is far too important to the leaf as he is the Jinchuruki to the most powerful tailed beast. He was meant to be Konoha's weapon even though he was scorned by them. He still remembers the hateful stares, the whispers, the beatings. But thanks to Zenyatta he finally put that all behind him. If Konoha does come for him, he will not show any mercy, he is not their property. Genji was also pleased to hear that both father and son are working to reform the Shimada clan into a nobler clan of shinobi. A clan that will work on striking down the wicked. It was here that Genji informed the reformed Overwatch of this. They were wary at first but they were mostly shocked that the cyborg ninja has a nephew. Do not let up your attack, nephew. Hi. Naruto swung his sword with grace and skill while Genji blocked it. Naruto wielded a sword of his own design. Though its design was very traditional of that of a katana, it was far more technologically advanced in terms of the final phases of construction. The sword was forged by one of the last few remaining traditional swordsmiths in Japan, a swordsmith whose family has served the Shimada clan for many generations. Once the sword was forged, technology was used to turn it into a high-frequency blade. A high-frequency blade was a sword reinforced by a powerful alternating current and resonated at extremely high frequencies. This oscillation weakened the molecular bonds of anything it cut, thereby increasing its cutting ability. Striking, cutting, and thrusting attacks were performed with the blade, with the sharpened edge and point used for lethal attacks, and the blunt edge used as a clubbing weapon. Proficient users were also able to wield the blade with such accuracy and speed that they were able to deflect bullets. Naruto's sword did not use a traditional sword mounting or the tsuba guard. Instead, it used polymers as the sword's tsuka, or hilt. But what made it so unique, was that the blade was red. Naruto wanted a sword forged in honor of his mother, and a red blade fit the bill. He has come a long way. Hanzo said as he drank some sake while sitting beside the Omnic monk. You have brought him up well. Zenyatta said. Hanzo grunted. I only raised him these past 7 years. But you have done more for him than anyone in his life. The monk reminded. To him you are his father, and no one else. What his sire had done is unforgivable, that much is certain. But at least he has learned to accept what and who he is. Just as you are at peace with yourself, so is your son. Thank you, Sifu. Zenyatta smiled and nodded to the Shimada scion. I am honored to have taught your son. Both he and Genji are my brightest pupils. He will do a great many things. Continue to guide him, Hanzo. I feel that his past is not yet finished with him. He may have found peace, but that does not mean that there won't be challenges he will have to face. Hanzo nodded. I will, Sifu. You have my word. 3 months later. At the age of 17, 2 years ago, Naruto finally got his clan markings. Just like his father before him, his entire left arm was covered in ink. With the Uzumaki swirl on his shoulder, the rest was the markings of the nine-tailed fox and a red dragon. He felt proud and happy that he had a clan. But right now, he was facing a tiny dilemma. The Uzumaki scion huffed at the pamphlet. This beacon academy seems inadequate. Once a huntsman loses their weapon, they are defenseless. They are not even taught how to prepare themselves when they finally take a life. You will be there representing our clan, my son. Hanzo said as he sat at the table with his son, enjoying lunch together. The home they were in was his childhood home where he grew up with Genji when they were just boys. It was a house in Hanamura, a mile distance away from the Shimada castle. It was a house that has not been used in a very long time, not since their mother died. Now it is home to the father and son, where they will be staying. It would have been more homely if Kushina were there with them. And thus a picture of her sat on the table with them. It had been months since the Shimada had been purged of every corrupt elder, and had since then began reforming their ideals to what it once was during the ancient times. Of course, the public eye still sees the Shimada as a wealthy business, owning several shops in Hanamura. Hanzo had agreed to Overwatch's request for Naruto to attend Beacon as a representative and foreign student. If they are to gain a friendly relationship with the organization, then this is their best chance. But Naruto will not be alone in this, he will be joining one other from the South Korean Mobile Exoforce. Have faith, Naruto. Hanzo said as he eyed his son with amusement. You are given a chance to show them what the Shimada clan is capable of. Naruto pursed his lips. I suppose that is one consolation. Beacon does have an exceptional academic program. See. Everything will work out. I hear that shinobi from the hidden lands will be there. Hanzo did not react and just kept on eating his meal. I will be there and so will your uncle. So you have no need to worry. Overwatch will not tolerate abductions, especially when it comes to relatives of one of their own. I will not show mercy should they try something. Naruto quietly declared. The Shimada clan head nodded and quirked up his lips into a small smile. I expect nothing less. 20 years ago, South Korea was attacked by a colossal omnic monstrosity that rose from the depths of the East China Sea. The massive, lumbering construct caused catastrophic damage to coastal cities before it was driven back beneath the waves. In response, the South Korean government developed a mechanized armored drone unit, called Mecha, to protect urban environments in future engagements with the Omnic threat. Every few years the Omnic would return, assaulting South Korea and its neighbors. The Omnic learned from these encounters, often reconfiguring itself in a different form and appearing with new weapons and capabilities. Each incident ended in a stalemate, with the monstrosity defeated but not destroyed. As the Omnic continued to adapt, it eventually disrupted Mecha's drone control networks, forcing the military to place pilots in the mechs. Scrambling to find suitable candidates, the government turned to the country's professional gamers, who possessed the necessary reflexes and instincts to operate the mech's advanced weapons systems. A number of top stars were drafted, who now pilot Mecha's walkers in defense of their homeland. In a concession to the predilections of their new draftees, the government suspended certain military protocols and allowed them to customize their uniforms and mechs, as well as broadcast combat operations live. One of these very pilots is Hannah Song, known more by her online name Democrat Virginia. A former professional gamer, she was drafted into the military to pilot the mechs. Lately, she has begun streaming her combat operations to her adoring fans, and since then her views had reached the world, turning her into a worldwide sensation and global icon. Even Remnant has begun watching her streams, garnering her even more fame. Shooting robots and taking down Talon mercenaries is nothing short of fun for her. But for now she is being sent to Remnant to become a foreign student and represent her nation. Pulling the triggers and maneuvering her pink mech, she fired at the Talon mercenaries. She had just arrived at Tokyo where she will be meeting with several Overwatch officials, but the moment she stepped off of her plane, several armed men garbed in black had opened fire. Stupid griefers and gankers. Hana spat in her native tongue as she kicked a Talon mercenary, sending him straight towards a cargo container. Turning her mech, she fired her mech's pair of arm-mounted pulse cannons and unleashed a stream of continuous wave of energy bolts at her foe. Some were taken down while others took behind cover. Ugh, these noobs are annoying. Perhaps I can be of assistance. Hana turned her head and saw a shadowy figure wielding a red katana coming down on those mercenaries behind cover. All he heard next was screams and the gutting of flesh. Seeing this, she found a few mercenaries losing their cover. Grinning, she pulled the trigger, took them out in one swipe. The mysterious figure brought his sword down and finished off the last remaining Talon mercenary. Flicking his blade, he placed it back into its sheath slung onto his back. Democrat Virginia in the flesh, a pleasure to finally meet you. Yeah. Hana dismounted, revealing her long brown hair and pink eyes. The guy in front of her was definitely a ninja, and by the looks of it, his katana reminded her of Metal Gear Rising. The sword was red like Jetstream Sam's. Thanks for the help, I guess. The figure smiled as he emerged from the shadows, lowering his mask to reveal his whiskered face. No problem. I'm Naruto. Shimada Naruto. Shimada. Hana's brows rose at the name. But I thought most of them were wiped out. Naruto nodded. Most of them were, yes. But it has been reformed by my father as he has now taken the seat of clan head. So you're Hanzo's son. The shinobi nodded once more. Are those? Yes, they're birthmarks. Tattoos, yes. I have tattoos on my entire left arm. I am being sent to Remnant at Overwatch's request. Me too. Hana was happy that she wasn't going to be alone for her trip to Remnant, and her new friend isn't bad to look at either. Looking at his sleeveless arms, she can tell he's a hard worker. Okay, he's hot. So what? Is there something on my face? What Ash? Hana's face went beet red at the realization that she had been staring at him for a few minutes. No. Just, happy that I'm not alone for this trip. Naruto nodded in understanding. Well, is there anything else you need? Oh no. Hana waved her hands before bowing to him. I think I got it. Thanks for the help, but I could have taken care of them myself. But I believe you were having a little difficulty there. The former professional gamer pouted and crossed her arms. No, I wasn't, I totally had them. Naruto smiled, making her feel more irritated. Seeing as she will be alright, he bowed to her. Well then, it was a pleasure meeting you, Democrat Virginia. I will see you tomorrow. At that he disappeared in a plume of smoke. Hana gaped before stomping her foot, glaring at where Naruto used to be. Naruto smiled as he stood on a building that overlooked where Democrat Virginia is. Lowering his hood, he was now revealed to have changed the color of his hair. Through a ritual, he had permanently changed the color of both his hair and eyes as he wanted to look closer to his mother and away from the man who had damned his life. From blonde, he was now a redhead with violet eyes, just like his mother. It was also much longer now, with him having tied it into a small ponytail. Looking down, he could see DVA's furious face. What he didn't tell her was that he was going to watch over her from the shadows and make sure that she got to where she is going to safely. There was no need to tell her that. She certainly wasn't bad to look, so that's always a plus in his books. Kill stealing hacker. She certainly has fire. Dr. Angela Ziegler, aka Mercy, has been a member of Overwatch for many years. Ever since the organization's reformation, she had been more than happy to meet up with her colleagues in Tokyo, where they will be heading towards Remnant through the Hidden Lands. She has seen many things wherever she had gone. She had seen some beautiful things, some amazing things, some sad and depressing things, and she saw some horrible things. She had disagreements toward South Korea's conscription of their professional gamers due to them possessing the necessary reflexes and instincts to operate their mechs. The one she had just met was Hannah Song, more commonly known as Democrat Virginia. A 19-year-old young woman, to her, is far too young to be sent to fight. In Angela's eyes she is still a child. What concerned her more was that newcomer that had met up with her former patient Genji. Uncle. A red-haired young man with whiskers on his cheeks and tattoos on his entire left arm bowed to the cybernetic ninja. Ah, nephew, you came. I am here to represent the clan, uncle. I would never dare bring dishonor. Genji nodded and patted his nephew's shoulder. Genji. Angela approached them. This is your nephew? The cyborg nodded. This is Naruto, my brother Hanzo's son. I was not aware that he had a son. I am adopted. Naruto clarified before bowing to the woman. A pleasure to meet you, Dr. Ziegler. I thank you for saving my uncle. The woman saw how young the redhead was and slightly frowned at the sight of his tattoo. She did not want to involve those so young for this expedition, but they were being sent to a school, a combat school. Aren't you a little too young to have tattoos? They are clan markings, doctor. Naruto said, unfazed by her disapproving tone. They represent both the Shimada and Uzumaki clans. I am the last of the latter. Our home was wiped out due to fear of our clan becoming too powerful. Angela looked aghast. How horrible. The Hidden Lands have been that way for a very long time. The doctor's eyes widened. You're from the Hidden Lands? The redhead nodded. I was born in Konoha. My parents were killed on the day of my birth. I did not live a good life until father found me on death's door. Ah yes, the shinobi villages of the Hidden Lands train child soldiers to fight for the village's interests. It was barbaric, but it has been that way for a very long time. It is their way, and though she wanted to disagree, she had no right to judge them, as it would mean being discriminatory towards a foreign culture. If you will excuse me. Naruto bowed to both his uncle and the doctor before making his way inside. I will make myself acquainted with this place. Watching the young shinobi head inside, Angela bore a sad look. For someone so young, he has been through too much. His left chest is somewhat warped, a scar perhaps. Genji shrugged. What he has endured has only made him stronger. He has no desire to become clan head. He only wishes to live out his life the way he wants. He deserves that much. Has your nephew ever had a chance of being a child? Genji shook his head, much to Angela's displeasure. No. He had lost that right on the day of his birth. You don't really talk much, do you, love? A young British woman at 26 with short spiky brown hair eyed Naruto as he went through the ritual of cleaning his bright red katana. I only talk much when the need arises. Naruto said as he ran an oiling cloth over the blade after wiping out any possibly debris with a simple cloth. Running it down, he let the oil settle before wiping it clean off with a wiping paper. Watcha doin'? Cleaning Akaheim. AKA what? It is the name of his sword, Tracer. A large gorilla wearing white armor said as he walked in. It means Red Princess, am I wrong? Naruto nodded and gave the talking gorilla a small smile. You are correct, Winston-san. I have studied various cultures of the world. Winston said as he adjusted his glasses. A pleasure to meet you, Shimada Naruto. I am Winston, scientist and member of Overwatch. I am well aware of who you are. The red-haired shinobi said, nodding to the gorilla in a respectful manner. I read many articles of your organization's exploits. It is a shame that the world had rejected your ideals during a time of great need. Tracer shrugged. Not everyone likes what we do, love. But still, we do what we can. What about you? What about me? Excited to do hero stuff with us? Naruto stifled a chuckle as he gently dabbed the Uchiko ball on his blade, lightly spreading a special powder over the red metal. I do not believe in heroes. Tracer tilted her head. No. I believe in the ideals of working in the dark to serve the light. The redhead declared as he glided a cleaning cloth over the blade, wiping the powder away. I do not look for recognition or attention. Well, that might be a little too late to say. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Tracer's words when he was then shown a YouTube video of him taking down Talon mercenaries with Democrat Virginia, the very same encounter he had last night. Everyone is wondering who this new ninja is. Winston said as he then went to the comments section. People are saying you're like a mini Genji. And a real-life Jetstream Sam from Metal Gear Rising while Genji is Raiden. Well, he is my uncle, and I did learn the Shimada style of Kenjutsu. The shinobi then widened his eyes before letting out a sigh. I was careless, damn it. I was hoping for people not to know of me so soon. Well, there's nothing you can do about it now, love. Tracer said as she stood up and stretched her arms and back. Naruto stared at his blade, and instead of seeing the reflection of his face, he saw his mother sadly smiling at him. Blinking, he saw his face. He mentally sighed that his mother could be saddened at how he turned out. Perhaps this was not what she had wished for him, he wouldn't know, she's not around. Naruto. HM. The redhead was snapped out of his thoughts when Winston nudged him. Are you alright? Hi. The shinobi nodded as he placed Akaheim back into her sheath. I was just thinking. It's ironic for me, years ago I was an attention seeker due to not having grown up with a nice loving family. You're an orphan. Tracer said with her eyes widening a little. Naruto nodded once again. I grew up not knowing any better. Every day I would come to home an empty apartment with no one to greet me. The village I was born in scorned me for the power that I possessed within me. It's rather depressing, having the world reject you, added with being an orphan and a scapegoat just added insult to injury. Later on my 7th birthday, the beatings. Blimey. Tracer gasped. They would beat a child. What kind of people are they? Naruto's eyes looked distant as he gazed out the window to see the sprawling city of Tokyo. They would call me demon child or demon brat, as if I was an actual demon. So I escaped my rundown apartment and hid in a cave within the forest, sometimes for days. Children were not allowed to play with me, their parents would tell them to keep their distance, alienating me in the process. Winston frowned. That was not right. No child should be subject to such experiences. When I was 12, months before Shimada Hanzo found me, I gained an ability where I can make fragile copies of myself called shadow clones. Through them I would use them. Naruto gripped Akaheim's scabbard rather tightly. I would use them to keep myself company when I'm at home. I often questioned myself if I was slowly losing my sanity. But you didn't. Tracer pointed out. I mean, you like fine to me. Your noggin doesn't look twisted. The shinobi smiled appreciatively at the time-manipulating fighter. I thank you that you think so, Tracer. So what happened next? The gorilla asked as he got himself a banana and a jar of peanut butter. In the end I did gain friends, but they still saw me as the village idiot. I wanted to become the village's leader so that I might finally earn recognition. Winston eyed the redhead and nodded in understanding. You realized that wouldn't work. The shinobi set Akaheim aside and went over to the fridge, grabbing an orange soda for himself. Yeah. Months later, the one I called brother, Sasuke, betrayed the village. I, along with others, were sent to bring him back. Long story short, he defeated me, putting a hole in my chest and making a quick getaway. Moments later Shimada Hanzo, my father, found me on death's doorstep. And the rest is history. Turning around, he found Winston sniffling with a few droplets of water running down his cheek. "Winston, are you crying?" Winston sniffled and wiped away the tears. "And no. I'm not." Tracer giggled. "Winston here can be a really big softie." "I'm not a softie, I'm a scientist." Naruto looked at them for a few seconds before snickering and then turning to full-blown laughter. He might just like hanging with these people. Just maybe, he might just fit right in. "Ah." Hana pointed at Naruto as he walked in. "You." "Yes, me." The former professional gamer placed her Nintendo 3DS down on the table and walked up to him, pouting cutely at him. "Hacker." "Well, I did hack at those mercenaries last night." Naruto quipped, although he knew exactly what she was calling him. "But I think I slashed them more." "Oh, you know what I'm talking about." Hana growled at him. Naruto let out a sigh. "Look, I was just in the area and thought I could help out. Besides, those Talon thugs were no doubt up to something." "I know that." The mecha pilot let out a sigh of her own. "Sorry. No harm done." He held out his hand and smiled at her. "Friends?" Hana nodded and smiled in return, taking his hand and shaking it. "Friends." Moment later the two sat down with Hana playing with her 3DS. Naruto just twiddled with a few of his shuriken and talked. It was certainly refreshing to have someone of your age group going with you to an unknown place filled with possible dangers. Naruto was confident they were both capable of tackling any challenge, but he also knew that there was no room for haughtiness. Arrogance can lead to his own downfall and he cannot afford that. But right now he was happy, he had actually made friends today, genuine ones. "So how long have you been a ninja?" Hana asked as she wanted to sate her curiosity. "Since I was 8. The mecha pilot dropped her jaws. Shinobi in the Hidden Lands are trained at a very young age." He looked up at the ceiling and imagined himself watching the clouds. "In the village I once lived in I was considered the dead last. Someone who cannot possibly rise to the top. Every step I took I was considered a joke, someone who couldn't possibly become powerful no matter how hard I tried." He raised his hand, formed a fist, clenching it hard. "Now look at me. I am a master swordsman in my own right, and scion to 2 great shinobi clans. Shinobis from the villages of the Hidden Lands are coming to Remnant as well. When the time is right I will show them what I am capable of." Naruto then looked back down and grinned at the brunette. "And then I am going to kick their ass." Hana giggled at his final words. "I'm sure you will. By the way, why is your sword red like Murasama from Metal Gear Rising?" Naruto waved his hand in a nonchalant manner. "That is just coincidence. It's red because I wanted to honor my mother who had red hair." "Your mother?" Naruto nodded at her question. "What is she like?" "I don't honestly know. She died when I was born." The brunette gasped and felt guilty for asking such a question. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be, you did not know." "Still." The redhead gave her an assuring smile. "It's fine, really. I've gotten over the fact that I never knew her. Besides, if I die I'll be able to meet her." "That doesn't make me feel any better." The mecha pilot exclaimed. "I didn't tell you this because I want your pity," Naruto said as he ran his thumb over the cold metal of his shurikens. "I told you this because I want people to hear my story and tell those who wish to hear it that even a nobody like me can rise to the top. Everyone in this world, be it rich or poor, famous or not, everyone has untapped potential." Hana smiled at his words. "You are correct." A boisterous German voice came through and the two saw a massive man in armor approaching them with a smile. "That is exactly what we in Overwatch think." Naruto stood up and bowed to the large man. "You must be Reinhardt." "I am Shimada Uzumaki Naruto, scion of the shinobi clans of Shimada and Uzumaki." "No need to bow to me, boy." Reinhardt gave the young man a boisterous laugh and patted him on the back. "It is good to finally meet a fellow warrior." "I am honored to meet you," Naruto said. The armored man laughed. And so modest. We will get along just fine. He then looks over to Democrat Virginia and approaches her, handing her a small notebook. I was wondering if you would sign this for me. It's. He clears his throat and lowers his voice, whispering to her with a small blush to his face. For a friend. Hannah giggles and nods, grabbing a pen and writing her signature on the notebook. Of course. Here you go. Love, Democrat Virginia. Once the large knight left the room, Naruto snickered and shook his head. That was definitely for his so-called friend. Hannah giggled and nodded in agreement. I get those kinds of autograph requests quite often, so it's normal for me. How do you handle it? Naruto asked. The fame, I mean. The brunette shrugged. I mostly chat with fans online and meet them during conventions. Other than that, I'm mostly at home or on duty, patrolling the coastal cities of my country. What about you? I'm a ninja. Naruto reminded her. I've done a few assassination on criminals with large bounties. It's how I've been able to survive while traveling the world with my father. Other than doing jobs, I've traveled to China to learn their martial arts. It's really an experience. Lucky. Hannah's voice was slightly envious. I don't get to see much, I mean it's the reason why I signed up to become a representative of my country. I wanted to get the chance of traveling to a different world. A different world. How crazy is that? Naruto raised a brow. There is a talking gorilla in the building and his best friend can manipulate time. I think anything is possible. Both Mecha Pilot and Shinobi stared at each other for a moment before going into fits laughter. Hidden behind a doorway, Angela Ziegler smiled at the scene before her. It seemed she really had nothing to worry about Naruto's mental state. But that doesn't mean she won't be keeping an eye on the young man. She had heard everything during their conversation, that is already cause for concern. She has a feeling that Naruto may be seeking retribution to those who have wronged him. That is not uncommon when it comes to a shinobi clan. She cannot allow someone young like him to think of doing things like revenge. Next day. Sifu. Genji and Naruto bowed to the Omnic monk. My pupils. Zenyatta returned the gesture. So good to see you two doing well. You don't look too bad yourself, Sifu. Zenyatta chuckled at the younger shinobi. Naruto, you seem to be more relaxed, that is good. It is all thanks to your teachings, Sifu. Zenyatta. Tracer greeted the monk. It is an honor to meet a member of the Shambali. Mandata was an inspiration to me. To us all. Zenyatta said. I miss him greatly. The Shambali were formed after the Omnic crisis, after experiencing what they referred to as a spiritual awakening. They abandoned their pre-programmed lives to establish a communal monastery deep in the Himalayas. After many years of meditation on the nature of existence, they came to the belief that they were more than artificial intelligences and that, like humans, they possessed the essence of a soul. Recognizing the spiritual equality they held with humans, the monks, led by the enigmatic robot known as Takartha Mandata, sought to heal the wounds caused by the Omnic crisis a generation earlier and bring humans and robots back into societal harmony. Their message was embraced by millions around the world, and they became global celebrities. But with Mandata dead at the hands of a Talon assassin identified to be the Widowmaker, Zenyatta has taken up the mantle of showing the people the way of the iris. Zenyatta had long since left the monastery and became a wandering guru, traveling the world and helping people overcome their personal struggles and finding inner peace. Naruto and Genji are two of those he had helped along his way. Honored Sifu. Naruto gave the monk a wusher salute. It is wonderful to know that you will be traveling with us. This trip itself will be an experience for us all. The monk declared. To help the Faunus with their struggles for equality. Genji nodded. We will be more than happy to help you, Sifu. Zenyatta smiled. Thank you, my pupils. I think it's time we get going. Winston announced. We'll be passing through Uzumaki-Shimada. All eyes were now on Naruto as he mentioned the name of the place. My ancestral home. But before Naruto could say any more, a voice came from behind. Wait. A woman in her 30s with glasses and a large jacket came running in. Don't leave without me. May. Angela smiled at the woman that came up to them. We were beginning to think you weren't coming. I cannot pass up the chance at studying remnants forests. May said. I also want to study the hidden while we pass through. Winston nodded. Let's go. Uzumaki-Shimada, Land of Whirlpools. The Land of Whirlpools was a sight to behold. It was a tranquil place with nature overtaking the area, but it was also a sight of sadness as the ruined village of Uzumaki-Shimada was there for everyone to witness. How sad. May whispered as she saw the ruined buildings and homes of the once proud village. Several shinobi villages destroyed it out of fear of my clan. Naruto said. We were skilled in both the art of the sword and fuinjutsu, the art of sealing. They thought us too powerful, and so they ruined us. All because of that? Angela gave the redhead an incredulous look. That's. Here in the Hidden Lands, power is everything. Genji explained to his colleagues. Fear is a norm, and a weapon. We won't stay here for long. Naruto whispered as he jumped off the transport and down on the ground. The redhead had found himself in the village's underground section of the library where Uzumaki clan's most precious jutsu scrolls are kept. Thankfully no one had entered the chamber. Sifting through some of the old scrolls, he took one that was related to kenjutsu and smiled that it was one of the techniques he hasn't learned yet. He didn't really get that much of a chance to go through the library the last time he was here, so getting a few more scrolls was always a good thing. Laying a storage scroll down on the floor, he placed the scrolls he had taken on it and made a hand sign, sealing the items within the scroll. Oh my! Naruto's head snapped upwards and spotted the angel-winged doctor gasping at him. Doctor! I didn't see you there. You made those scrolls disappear. Storage scroll that uses a basic sealing or enclosing technique. The redhead explained as he placed the storage scroll into his bag. To put it simply, it allows me to seal many kinds of items within it by storing them in a pocket dimension, making traveling easier. It is an essential tool for shinobi. Amazing. Winston entered the chamber after hearing the shinobi's words. May I see one? Of course. Naruto handed the genetically engineered gorilla an empty scroll. This one is empty at the moment. Fascinating, it uses a special kind of paper infused with an energy. That energy is chakra. Naruto explained. Similar to the ones Zenyatta uses for his orbs. It's still a mystery how Omnics are able to channel them. Perhaps they were really blessed by Buddha. Do you mind if I have this so I can study it? The Uzumaki scion nodded. Go ahead, I can always make more. Many thanks, Naruto. May certainly got her samples as the plants here were nothing like she had ever seen. Naruto, Hana, Zenyatta, and Genji were at the graves where many of the village's people, both ninja and civilian, were laid to rest long ago. All of them were on their knees with their hands clasped together, paying their respects to those who had lost their lives to a pointless war. Many of those who died had yet to even learn how to walk. It was a sad sight. May their souls find peace within the iris. Zenyatta prayed as he set a flower down on one of the graves. Once again, the four bowed before turning to head back to the transport. Once back on, Naruto was met with sympathetic looks as even though he was born here, it was still a part of him. With the ship taking off, they now made their way towards the threshold to Remnant. This is the reality that many villages here may face. The redhead stated. Out here, it is survival of the fittest. Angela frowned. It still does not make it right. All those innocent lives because people got too afraid. Fear does that. Zenyatta said. People fear what they do not understand, it makes them become irrational and impulsive. Naruto sat down in one corner of the transport and saw Hana following after him. Are you alright? It's never easy whenever I come to Uzumaki to pay my respects. so many waster lives. There are so few of us now. Hey. Hana whispered as she placed a hand on his, something that surprised her. You're not alone here, okay? Naruto smiled at her. Thank you. Looking through the window, he saw the beautiful view of Uzumaki-Shimada Island as the transport approached the threshold that will take them into Remnant. It's beautiful. Hana said. Yeah. Naruto said with a nod of agreement. But he didn't mean the island. Beautiful. Remnant. Vale City, Kingdom of Vale. It was already night when they had arrived. At the Vale Council's expense they were given a place to stay at a hotel while Naruto and Hana will be staying in Beacon Academy as second years. As such their luggage has been sent to the academy the moment they had arrived, well it was mostly Hana's belongings since Naruto has all of his stuff in storage scrolls. The city was peaceful but Zenyatta could already see the areas where the faunest neighborhoods are. Even though Vale was considered one of the less racially discriminative kingdoms, the separation between races was still evident. The humans lived on this side of the city, and the faunus on the other. It deeply saddened the Omnic monk that his race wasn't the only ones facing such hardships. But now that he is here, he can help them with their pains. But most of all, two of his brightest pupils will be at his side to aid them. Where are you going? Hana asked as she watched Naruto make his way out of the hotel. I'm going to stretch my legs for a bit. The redhead replied as he put on his hood and mask. I'll mostly keep to the rooftops so I won't attract any unneeded attention. So don't worry about me. Naruto. Angela called out as she walked up to him. I'll be fine, Doctor. The shinobi said with a smile behind his mask. He didn't know why the Great Mercy was worrying about him so much. On their way here from Uzushio, she made sure that he wasn't depressed or having any negative thoughts. For a doctor that was normal but, she was practically babying him. He wasn't used to that kind of treatment. I'll be sure to be back by midnight, okay? Before Angela could stop him, a hand went up to her shoulder and saw. Zenyatta? He is not used to that kind of treatment you are giving him, Doctor. He prefers his independence. The healer sighed. I'm just worried about him. He's still young and... The Omnic monk leaned in as he felt that there must be a reason that why she is acting like this. Doctor? Angela bit her lip before turning around. It's nothing. All the while, Hana looked on before heading back inside. She'll be heading to Beacon with Naruto tomorrow, so there's nothing really for her to worry about. Naruto is more than capable of taking care of himself. The night was young and he figured that it was a weekend. He could see the various people enjoying their nights, buying their drinks and having a good time at restaurants and bars. It made him smile that there were some humans interacting with their faunus friends. Jumping to another set of rooftops, he neared the deeper parts of the city where the city's port is located. It was simple really. Areas like this with little light source at night would be the perfect place for shady dealings and activities to occur. Taking a leap forward he landed on the head of a malfunctioning lamp post and stood there, surveying the area. He took a deep breath and tapped into his tenant's chakra, turning his eyes from violet into a blood red with swirly pupils like the Uzumaki clan emblem. Right after Hanzo had nursed him back to health, he had struck a deal with the QB. Flashback. The nine-tailed fox chuckled as the blonde enters his mindscape. The first time my jailer sees me and he wishes to use more of my power. You are bolder than I thought. I want power. I want power for my own selfish reasons. I want to make sure that I do not lose like that again. Yes. The QB hummed as he remembered Naruto's disastrous loss to the Uchiha. That would be problematic, not only to you, but to me. If you die, I die, simple as that. But tell me, why should I let you use my power? Because it would benefit us both. Naruto declared. You are the QB no Yoko, the most powerful of the 9 Bijou. What would you think if you saw that your Jinchuruki is a weakling? I barely made it out with my life against Gaara. Yes. The QB suddenly got angry at the memory of facing the one-tailed raccoon. The fox roared and slammed his head up against his. You nearly embarrassed me that day, brat. You had to rely on a fucking toad to defeat that dumb raccoon. A toad. So what's it going to be, furball? The fox growled at the blonde and glared at him before going into a deep laughter. You are not as dumb as I thought, brat. Let me ask you. Why do you wish to use my power? Simple. Naruto chirped as he grinned at the bijou. I just want it. The fox chuckled. Very well. I will grant you a dojutsu of my own device. Be warned, I will not go easy on you when it comes to training you in using my power. Naruto bowed. Of course, QB. End flashback. The eye of the fox granted him to see through many visions, much like using an infrared goggle. It allowed him to see things similar to a thermal imaging goggle, but it also allowed him to see through night perfectly. Whenever he was on a bounty hunt, his prey never got away. People who he deems a threat or an enemy are red, friendlies were blue, and non-combatants were white. Everything else in his vision was black and white. But his eyes not only gave him a unique vision, it also heightened his senses 100-fold. In a way, he has become a pseudo-faunus. The area here appears to be quiet, but that's the thing. If it is quiet, then something is going on. He took a data pad from his pack and examined the contents of the device. The world of Remnant may be at a time of peace, but that doesn't mean that there isn't someone trying to disrupt it. Right now this world seems to be having a problem with an organization created for peace, violent, wrecking and burning shops that refuse to serve faunus. Their wish is to wipe out humanity for the cause of faunus supremacy. That cannot be allowed. Naruto made an oath to serve the greater good by whatever means necessary. If that means dirtying his hands, then so be it. Wet work is something he is not unfamiliar with. Out in the distance he heard an explosion go off with a small mushroom-shaped smoke going up in the air. Well, what do we have here? Down in the docks a battle ensued as a raven-haired cat faunus and a blonde monkey faunus fought a cadre of white-fanged insurgents, ironically led by a human male with orange hair and a top hat. The monkey faunus was quick with his feet. Wielding a bow staff, he twirled and swung his weapon, knocking out several thugs that got in his way. The cat faunus wasn't far behind as she swung her katana pistol hybrid. Her scabbard also had a sharp edge, doubling it as a second sword. The monkey faunus spun his staff and blocked an explosive shot from the orange-haired man's gun cane. He's mine. The cat faunus roared and rushed in, using her natural speed and semblance to create shadows, making her look she was teleporting around the place. But the orange-haired man was actually putting up a good fight and easily defended himself from her flurry of attacks. With the way he fought, he managed to land a few good hits on her and knocked her away. Thankfully the blonde intervened and split his staff into two, turning them into nunchucks that doubled as lever-action shotguns. The amount of shots that were going off kept the criminal occupied, allowing Blake to go in and knock him off his feet. The orange-haired man growled before looking up and saw a cargo container still attached to a cairn. Aiming his cane gun up, he fired off a shot and sent the metallic container down, separating the two faunus with the blonde facing the barrel of Roman's weapon. Just then a flurry of shurikens came out from the shadows and struck several white-fanged grunts on their backs and chests. This was then followed by a gust of wind as red slashes engulfed the area. All eyes were then on a certain figure in black with orange lines on his hood and shoulders, holding a blood-red blade that he was just placing it back into its sheath. Uzumaki-Shimada Guren no Issei. Cry of the Red Lotus. Clink. The moment the sword clicked back into its sheath, the white-fanged grunts hit by the red slashes burst into showers of blood as their bodies were split wide open. The blood burst out like a flower blooming in the night. None of those who had been hit by the shurikens and the sword survived. Blake Belladonna, former member of the White Fang, had just witnessed a dozen white-fanged grunts slain by this stranger in 3 seconds flat. What the dash? Roman Torchwick, a wanted criminal in Remnant, gaped at the scene. This was not part of the plan. He could no doubt handle these two kids, but this guy, he just killed 12 men without even a second thought. One of the grunts who had witnessed this roared and fired his gun. The bullet soared through the air, straight towards the dark hooded stranger. But then all eyes widened as the stranger drew his sword with lightning fast speed, faster than anything they had ever seen. They were frozen in place as the blade made contact with the bullet right down its center. But for the swordsman, everything around him slowed down. His eyes were on the blade as the bullet began to split in half with its metal just gliding over it. Instead of getting hit by the bullet as the gunner intended, it just got split in half, flying off in two directions, completely avoiding him. Whoa! Son, Blake's friend, gaped at what had just happened. Did that just happen? Who the hell are you? Roman barked as his plans were now officially ruined by this unknown. You know how hard it is to do this kind of heist. I care not for your problems, criminal. The swordsman replied with a slight Asian accent. You and your kind only wish to disturb the peace. I am simply the executioner. Flinging his arms forward once he sheathed his blade, dozens of shurikens came out of his sleeves and struck the white-fanged grunts in front of him. But what was strange was that they all ignored their aura. Seeing that they were distracted, he rushed in and drew his sword once more. Everything else was a blur. Blake couldn't move. Although technically the White Fang were her enemy now, they were still her kin. And she could not bear the sight of them being slaughtered like this. As the bullheads in the air fired their machine guns at the swordsman, he deflected them with his sword, preventing each and every one of them from hitting him. Off to the side a bright green laser sliced some of the bullheads open, sending them and their occupants crashing down. Blake. A red-haired girl with a red hood came rushing up to the cat faunus. Are you? The girl stopped short as she saw the several dead bodies. All right. What happened? Gur. Roman growled as he retreated into a bullhead, ordering the pilot to take off with the rest. Tonight they will be coming home empty-handed. These kids just keep getting weirder and weirder. Though your aid was unneeded, it is not unwelcome. The swordsman said with gratitude in his voice as he approached the orange-haired girl that fired the laser. You are a very unique omnic. Sifu Zenyatta will no doubt wish to meet you. You. The girl's eyes widened. You know what I am. The swordsman nodded. Is there something wrong? I. The orangette lowered her head. You're not bothered that I'm a machine. The swordsman smiled behind his mask. Humans, machines, we are all one within the iris. It is a pleasure to meet you, I am Storm Shadow. Oh. The girl then perked up. My name is Penny, it is a pleasure to meet you. Storm Shadow then bowed before patting her head. He became amused by her enthusiasm. If you wish to meet with Sifu Zenyatta, come to the Vale Royal Palace Hotel tomorrow and simply ask for him. I have no doubt he will wish to meet you. Penny nodded vigorously. Okay. Good. Now then, I must take my leave. All eyes were on Storm Shadow as he disappeared in a plume of black smoke, leaving a feather behind as it dissipated. Blake had to hold Ruby and cradle her as she was now traumatized by the several dead bodies of her kin on the ground with pools of blood forming a large one. But one question remained in her mind. Who is Storm Shadow? Vale Royal Palace Hotel. It seems you have been busy tonight. Naruto turned his head as he entered his hotel room through the window, spotting Genji right at the door. Uncle. Genji grabbed the remote and turned it on, showing him the footage of policemen at Vale's docks covering up several bodies of white fang grunts. What did you find? They were, strangely, led by one Roman Torchwick, a human. The older shinobi raised an eyebrow. But I thought the white fang were anti-human. Naruto furrowed his brows. That's what I thought as well. But it seems that they are up to something. What I do know is that he seems to be supplying them as he may have supplied these people with transport aircraft. We have a lot of work to do. Genji muttered. Get some sleep. We will discuss with the rest tomorrow morning. Yes, uncle. Oh, and Naruto. Genji gave his nephew a smile. Excellent work. As expected of a shinobi of the Shimada and Uzumaki, you handled the situation well. The redhead bowed. Thank you, uncle. Unknown location. So you're telling me that you weren't to get anything, and lose at least most of the men given to you? Roman gulped as he was stared down by a woman in a red dress. Her fiery eyes peering into him like she was staring into his very soul. All he could do was nod fearfully. Some ninja guy came in out of nowhere, shurikes and katana and stuff. Took out 30 guys in seconds, like they were nothing. People in the news said he's called Storm Shadow or something. Storm Shadow. The woman muttered. He calls himself the executioner of people like me. A vigilante. The woman crossed her arms as she turned to two of her associates behind her. A rogue element with a vendetta against criminals and the like. Emerald. Yes, ma'am. A girl with bright emerald hair stepped forward. Add this Storm Shadow to the list. No doubt he will be an annoyance to our plans. Also, find out who he is and who he may be with. Emerald nodded. They had a lot of work to do. Naruto's mindscape. Deep within Naruto's mind as he slept, he sat on a cliff overlooking a beautiful valley. It had been a while since Naruto had decided to change the outlook of his mindscape, chancing it from a sewer to a mountain overlooking a valley filled with life. He sat on a rock, holding a piece of wood and a carving knife, creating a masterpiece. You've been at it for a while. Kurama stated as he lay behind the redhead, relaxing as always. Helps keep me at peace. You've come a long way from what you once were. Yeah. I certainly enjoyed what you did a while ago. Naruto harumphed. They made their choice just I made mine. They sowed their fate when they chose to terrorize innocents and upset the balance for the sake of their misguided beliefs. In a way. I'm a Shinigami. Kurama cackled as he stood up and went back into the forest where his cave is. And that is why you are my favorite Jinchuruki. You have no problem taking a life. The redhead grunted as he placed the wood carving down and enjoyed the view. Moments later a figure appeared behind him. He had bright gold hair and wore a long white cloak with fiery patterns on the tresses. On the back were the kanji letters, Yandai Meiho Kagi. Even after you're dead you seem to always have the worst timing. The man chuckled nervously as he scratched the back of his head. Why yeah. Naruto stands up and turns around, bringing him face to face with the one man responsible for his horrible childhood, if he can even call it that. You know. I have half a mind to sick Kurama on you. I'm pretty sure he'll like that a lot. Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father, let out a sheepish chuckle as he felt like he was being stared down by his wife. Heck, Naruto looks so much like her now. Please don't. The redhead huffs as he sinks his hands into his pockets and kicks a pebble away. So, what do you want? Minato probably expected this kind of reaction from him, but it still didn't make it any less painful. I just want to talk. The younger shinobi sighs as he sits back down with a somewhat annoyed look. Looking at the man, he just can't bring himself to hate him for some reason. In the end, he nodded. Alright. End chapter. So this part ends here. If you want to see next part of this series, like the video now, and share the story with your friends. Bye bye.